This is another knight, to sort of complement the black knight, I suppose. At $30.99, bet they don't cost that now. I've had him, it's got to be since the early 2000s, and didn't do anything with him. This is a lovely jawbone sallet. I love them, they are superb. Good armour, all very accurate. Nothing much of a background to him. Miniart, 1/16, nice and big, I suppose. Yeah, I just bought him because I like medieval stuff and never got around to doing anything. And I opened it up the other day, and to my surprise, first of all, I haven't undone the sellotape on the other side. Secondly, vaguely it came back to me. Accidentally, they seem to have put some spare bits in, or something. Or maybe I got these off a mate. But there's his helmet, and then I haven't unbagged him yet, so they're spare parts. The interesting thing is, these parts, and that helmet in particular, are not the man on the cover. So to my great surprise, I find I bought the French knight as well, and just put him in the same box. Probably got rid of the box there. And there's the sallet that we saw in black. Some of you eagle-eyed people will have heard that I've got a bit of a cold. How boring is that? Colds are really boring. Anyway, here's my German knight with the first layer of very, very thin acrylic. Like artists' acrylic paint. I want this to have something of a texture and a bit of a variety in the shades on the fabric, because fabric can be a very, very complicated surface. I'd like to try and catch that a bit. A rough and ready paint job, because got to glue it all together, and therefore things could get messy, you know me. And the other thing is, once things are glued together, you can see where things line up, if they line up well, and work on them from there, particularly things like where those elbows are going to join up. So what I've got, actually, you just amuse yourselves for a moment. Right, so what I've got here are massive bodies of gold, which really should be thin-ish edges. So I'm going to put the black back in and create bands of black, gold, but I need them to line up rather nicely with the other side. So no point in doing that until you know just how well they are lining up. In particular, very important, because it has to be said, these models don't line up brilliantly well. So here we are, just giving you an idea. They have got points and holes, or pins and holes, but look, big gaps all the way around. So no point yet, because I'm going to be chucking filler about and extra little dabs of glue and stuff like that. So this is where we are up to. I will put everything, glue everything together eventually, and then tidy up the colour right at the end. Be nice to finish the painting off now, but well, there you go. Silver's an interesting paint to work with, isn't it? Whether it comes out of a spray, an airbrush, or a pot. I've just got this, and I'm just trying it on a few odds and ends to see how it goes. Looks a bit thin. I have given it a good shake. That's not a great finish, I have to say. May just be me, may just be the beginning of the tube. It is on a slightly glossy surface, but I wanted that because very often plastic has a nice smooth surface, and I've done the interiors to see if anything bucks up, and it doesn't. There's a bit of shine to it though, isn't there? That looks quite good. So we'll see how it settles. The interesting thing is that on armour, it needs almost permanent polishing to keep it in good nick. which I'm suffering from because I've got a lot to keep up with. So let's have a look at a bit of armour that needs a little bit of... Here's a helmet. It's repro, so don't worry about trying to nick it. It's not worth a bother. You can get it cheap on eBay. Here's a helmet. Its polish is reasonable. There's a couple of patches where I've handled it, but there are many accounts of medieval armour shining like mirrors, and they're not exaggerating. It's not easy to do. It's very labour intensive, but you get the idea. So we'll move on to over in the corner where I've dumped a load of junk, unfortunately. This is typical. Here we go. Now it's in the dark, but you can see there's a kind of grey dullness to it. And that's just from the air. How long has that been sitting there? It's been sitting there about 2 months. So it's dulling down already. Needs a wipe over. Not with a damp cloth. Here's a helmet. I've had to wedge it on the gate. I might as well just pick it up and hold it in my hand. But here's one that is, well, you can see there, very dull. And this was cleaned up about a year ago, so it's dropped down to that. It hasn't been outside, hasn't been in the damp and rain. Just ordinary conditions. And it's grey, it's not shiny. So that gives us an idea of how dull things can get. Let's do that. So, very quickly becomes grim. As I say, this hasn't had any activity at all, and it's looking that bad. So, if it was out on campaign, it could go like this in days. I'm back in the kitchen because actually the light is quite good for this shot. This is the helmet, and it's a type of helmet called a sallet. Let's see it in profile. There we are. Oops. And it's a very, very particular type of sallet. Rather interesting one. It's called a jawbone sallet, because the visor is only the lower half, or less, and it moves like a jawbone. I'm going to have to put these together to show you. Bear with me, that will take 2 hands. Hang on. Hey, that's not too bad. Actually, it's dismal, but look, that's it. And it lifts up. That needs a lot of work on it, doesn't it? And it lifts up like that, so you can breathe, eat and drink better, more easily. And that would be the kind of thing that you would wear. Oh. That would be the kind of thing you would wear if you wanted to wear a crown on top, for Richard III fans, because it wouldn't hit the crown at the normal position it would be in if it were a real thing. I've got one of these somewhere. I'll see if I can dig it out. That went badly at the end. And therefore, this is a jawbone sallet. One of my favourite types. You can get loads of different types of sallet. They are very, should we say, adaptable. And they're really quite comfortable and easy to wear. I think that's what made them so popular, and they got a bit of style. When the time comes, we'll look at some other helmets from the same period. But this is the kind we've got on our fella. And there's a little pressable rivet there, which, pardon the rust, the weather's been odd the last year or so, and it's been murder keeping the armour in good nick. It always is, but just a little bit worse than usual. Anyway, can't do it one-handed, so there's the release rivet. Can't do it with my finger without knocking it off. There you go. That goes in and frees up that hole. So, crash, bang, wallop. Excuse me. So that's what happens. This moves like a jawbone. And you can see out, you can breathe, eat and drink and shout commands. So there is our fabulous salad. Let's see if I can actually get it to spin completely. No, softy. Here we go. So that is what our man has. Well, this is where we're at. It's all kind of, it's getting a bit shambolic for some reason. Things aren't quite fitting and a few other odds and ends. I've got to tidy up the helmet where I reshaped it. I finally got the dagger in, which is a bit tricky, and I got the scabbard for the sword in. They were the bits that they weren't cooperative, and I don't think that's the fault of the model. I should have done them before I put the arms on, so that's my fault. And then the sword has been through the wars. Getting the blade off the sprue was very difficult because the attaching bits were very thick. So to get a nice smooth blade edge, I'm wielding a sword. Let's see if we can show it. Would have taken a lot of sanding down and that kind of thing. But happily, swords, because of the nature of how they're forged and so on, every hit will cause a little mark, or perhaps a big mark. So he doesn't have to have done much to get the edge battered. And I would like him to look like he's the real, an active kind of fellow, not some kind of drip who just flounces about tournaments and things. So that's alright. I've got to do the grip. I had done the grip in gold, but because it took a bit of doing gluing the two parts together, I then dulled down the silver too much, so the whole thing's gone silver. And I'll redo, I mean, I'm tempted to do it black now, but he's black, so I think I'll go back to gold and then put it in his hand. Now at this point we've only got the shield to go on and the transfers, and I've heard that they do not go well at all. Apparently they break up in the water. So let's see how well this will go. Right, well, there's the eagle. You can see he's split up in the water, just as predicted. And there he is going onto the body. So there's going to be some black paint involved, isn't there? And a lot of decal fix. Never mind, eh? Meanwhile, the bottom half's going on. Bit by bit we get there. Tell you one thing, I'm doing a little voiceover because the sound went crazy, and I can tell you in advance that is the wrong transfer. And here's the crumbs of all the other bits of transfer sitting in the water. I've cut the rivets off because the eagle won't sit neatly over that, and there's enough problems with the transfers as it is. And I've put a slightly different coloured sort of just squiggles to give a little bit of texture to the surface, or variation to the surface colour. Obviously with the big eagle over the top it won't show up very much, but it should just give it a little bit of depth. So hopefully all that will work. If not, it's just a total repaint. There is the transfer for the shield, and it's fallen apart all over the place. So I'll put on what I can, and then, well, we'll just have to patch it up, I think. So that's the eagle on, and it doesn't fit. I mean, it also fell apart quite a lot on that side and around the tail, so I'll sort some of that out. But yes, it doesn't fit, which must mean it actually should go there, which then means the tail will run down through the belt, which would be accurate for a surcoat or tabard like that. But at the same time, with a crumbling transfer, how on earth they expect you to do that, I don't know. You really would be better off painting it. So I've put the wrong ones on in the wrong places, which may have worked out better. So there. I could extend the tail down by hand, couldn't I? But I won't. I'm also, at the moment, I'm not putting borders on anything, which you could tempt me into doing. We'll see. So, actually, it's a nice little bit of slate, isn't it? I could put me knight on there, except it's nice and simple, but it's got like a little overhang that way up. Obviously, turn it around, it hasn't. But he's still wonky. Forgive the background, I'm supposed to be tidying that up. He still stands at that slightly odd, slightly drunken angle. So, get another bit, and it's a bit, well, do you know, that appears to be natural, but it doesn't look natural. And it's a bit flat, featureless, apart from that overhang. So, how about that? That's good. Do you know, I quite like that. Good. I don't know if it's brilliant, but it's quite nice just for a bit of change. That's different. I like that. Bit of araldite between the two bits of stone. And there we are. Go on then, very quickly, let's have a look at some German wood carving from the early Renaissance, just a little bit after the time of our fella. Well, that's him in the most basic form. A couple of bits didn't fit together. In this light I can just see a very nasty open seam down there, and I suppose I should add the little bit of the tail feather onto the German eagle. But apart from that, there he is. All things considered, he's alright really. Bit of a struggle here and there, but you know, models do have their moments, don't they? So that's him. He might play a small part in something else I've got planned, but I don't know yet. That might all fail. That's the problem, and he's rocking about. But there he is. His neck's a bit thin. For somebody wearing armour, with at least some level of padding around his neck, that is a bit small. Ooh, a little bit of proper sunlight. Quick, get yourself out there, fella. I'm going to drop him over the edge, aren't I? Come on. Well, welcome to Edgelingham Castle, just west of the mighty Alnwick, and here's our fella, done. He looks a bit glossy, doesn't he? Perhaps I preferred the matte, or the matter finish. Anyway, there he is on his bit of slate. There he is outside a castle which was thriving in the 1400s, and he's done. There are a lot of gaps, there are a lot of things that don't fit. The detail could be a little bit crisper, and the jawbone on the sallet just juts out a bit too far, and the two sides don't join at all nicely. So there are a bunch of negatives, but on the whole actually he's authentic enough and he comes out very nicely. I could have done more, I always could, but anyway, he's alright, and I'm going to get another one or two and embellish them, over embellish them perhaps. Yeah, so that's him, and hopefully we all benefited from that one, learned some lessons. But there we go. Right, who knows what next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for subscribing and following and all of that. Yeah, I haven't got a clue what's coming next.